Okay, let's dive right into this. If you're a parent, you have probably felt that sudden sinking worry in your stomach when your child brings home a disappointing report card, right? I mean, you know they can do better. You just want to give them a real reason to push themselves, to actually care about their education. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're looking at the fascinating and honestly sometimes surprising science behind a super common parent strategy: paying kids for good grades. We're going to explore what actually happens when money turns learning into a transaction, and most importantly, how we can effectively guide our kids without straining our relationship with them.
We have all either heard this, thought about saying it, or, let's be honest, actually said it ourselves. I will give you $50 if you get an A next time. It is just incredibly relatable. When your child seems unmotivated or completely disorganized, offering cash just feels like a clear, immediate fix. And the crazy thing? It often looks like it works. Suddenly, your kid is checking the grade portal, they're asking about the next test, maybe they're even studying longer. But research actually points to a hidden risk here. It's not that offering money always fails, not at all. The real risk is that it might succeed at the completely wrong goal. See, your child might become hyper-focused on earning that $50 rather than genuinely understanding the material or building lasting study skills.
So, here's our quick roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the motivation illusion, look at what the science actually says, and cover some common parent pitfalls. Then, we'll shift from outcome to process, break down the learn plan, and finish up with a highly actionable 7-day family reset.
Okay, Section 1. What the science says. Mixed results and hidden limits.
And this brilliantly illustrates what massive school experiments have revealed. Financial incentives, they aren't magic. They are actually tools, and like any tool, they have very specific limits. For instance, paying for a grade does one thing really well. It increases short-term effort. It makes a distant end-of-semester report card feel much closer, which boosts immediate urgency and gets tasks completed. But paying for a final grade does not reliably build deep learning. It doesn't teach a child how to plan a project, how to take solid notes, manage their time, or crucially, how to bounce back from a disappointing result. Money might spark a late night of cramming for sure, but it doesn't build the intrinsic motivation, the study skills, or the persistence our kids literally need to tackle complex, long-term challenges in life. So, the evidence really supports a careful conclusion here. Incentives are just tools, and the way you design the tool completely changes the outcome.
So before you reach for your wallet, I want you to pause. Just take a breath and ask yourself this crucial underlying question. When a child misses assignments or makes careless mistakes, our first instinct as a parent is often to think, oh, my child just needs motivation. But that assumption hides so many other possibilities. I mean, your child might simply not understand the material. They might literally not know how to study effectively. They could be exhausted, distracted, disorganized, or quietly terrified of failing. Offering $50 for an A absolutely increases urgency, but it leaves those real foundational problems completely untouched.
Section 2. Common Parent Pitfalls. The unintended consequences of cash.
Now, I want to be perfectly clear right off the bat here. There is absolutely no shame in falling into these traps. Parents make these mistakes out of deep love and genuine concern for their kids' futures. We just want them to be okay. But it's so important to see the unintended consequences. And this is perhaps the most sensitive risk we need to talk about. Money, you see, is not the only reward in the room. A parent's smile, our pride, our warmth, those feel like currency to a child. When we over-focus on grades, we risk creating what psychologists call parental conditional regard. This is a heavy concept. It happens when a child starts to feel that they are only fully acceptable and loved when they bring home high grades. Research actually links this specific type of pressure to deep internal tension, resentment, and a feeling of being pushed rather than freely choosing to learn. Without meaning to, we accidentally send the message that our warmth has to be earned by a letter on a report card.
Let's walk through 5 of the most common pitfalls we see. First up, paying for an outcome that's honestly out of the child's control. A final grade is influenced by a teacher's test design, prior knowledge, maybe even a messy group project. When we only pay for the final letter, we might actually be rewarding built-in advantage rather than their actual growth. Second, turning learning into a negotiated price. Look, once there's a dollar amount attached to an A, kids start acting like little lawyers, right? They start arguing that a B+ should be worth something too. Third, paying more when the first offer stops working. It's a vicious cycle. Weak effort leads to a larger offer, which leads to temporary improvement, and on it goes. Fourth, as we just touched on, tying our parental approval directly to the grade. And finally, using the exact same deal for every child in the house. One of your kids might find math a breeze, while another has to work twice as hard just to pull a C. Paying for a flat letter grade can so quickly turn a loving family dynamic into a stressful, ongoing business transaction.
Section 3. Outcome versus process. Shifting the focus to what works.
Okay, so what's the secret to a healthier approach? It's all about shifting our focus away from the final outcome and putting it on the controllable process. Think about a purely transactional approach. It sounds like this. If you get an A on the next test, I'll give you $50. Now, your child might panic, they might cram all night, and sure, even if the grade goes up, they haven't actually learned a repeatable, sustainable method. Now, compare that to a process-focused approach. That sounds like this. The goal is to build a study plan you can repeat. Notice the difference? You are focusing on controllable behaviors, like reviewing notes for 15 minutes, or completing a specific set of practice questions, or proactively asking a teacher for help. You are stepping away from the anxiety of a cash transaction and moving toward a much calmer strategic approach that actually teaches them how to be a successful student.
Section 4. The Learn Plan. Building a true learner.
So, the crucial point is how we actually put this into practice. This brings us to an incredibly effective, step-by-step toolkit from the source material to help kids succeed without stressing out your relationship. It's called the Learn Plan. Step 1. Look behind the grade. Ask yourself, is the real problem sleep? Is it anxiety? Are they just missing assignments? Step 2. Explain the real goal. Keep it super simple. The goal is just to understand the material and build strong habits for the future. Step 3. Agree on controllable actions. Choose 2 or 3 very specific behaviors, like exactly when and where homework is going to happen. Avoid vague phrases like, just try harder. Step 4. Reward carefully and temporarily. Look, if you do use a small incentive to jumpstart a routine, keep it modest, attach a hard end date to it, and tie it to the process itself, never the perfect result. And Step 5. Notice strategy and growth. Give them honest feedback on what they are doing right. Notice if they started their essay a day earlier or if they asked for help. By focusing on strategy and the honest process of learning, you are building a truly resilient learner.
And as part of that plan, I highly recommend trying to incorporate these warm, really natural phrases into your daily conversations. Instead of tossing out empty praise like, oh, you're a genius, or on the flip side, turning a bad grade into a harsh interrogation, try asking this, which part of this was under your control? Or what did this test actually show that you understand? This is huge because it gives your child calm, very specific feedback and useful information. It entirely removes the pressure of a cash transaction. It keeps your standards crystal clear, but it doesn't make a letter grade the price of your approval.
Section 5. A 7-day family reset. Moving forward with confidence.
All right, if you're ready to change how your family handles homework and grades, here is a structured, super actionable 7-day plan to just hit the reset button on expectations. On day 1, simply pause any new grade payments. Just tell your child you want to understand their learning process first. Day 2, pick one single class and map out the specific problem together. Day 3, identify just one missing skill. Maybe it's planning, or maybe it's test anxiety. By day 4, you're going to create 2 controllable actions, like setting a specific time and a specific place to study every day. On day 5, offer your child a meaningful choice within that plan, giving them a little bit of autonomy. On day 6, review the process together without asking what grade they expect to get. Just ask what worked. And finally, on day 7, you can decide if a small incentive is actually needed. And notice here, a modest, temporary incentive for a controllable action on day 7 is completely fine. That is vastly different from writing a $50 check for an A.
Look, at the end of the day, paying for a grade might produce some quick movement for tonight's homework, but movement is not the same thing as direction. Our deeper goal here is raising a child who can plan, who can persist, and who can learn from their mistakes, even when there's absolutely no cash on the table. So before you offer money for the next report card, I want you to try asking this one realistic, powerful question today. What specific action would help you learn this better? Build your family's plan around that specific action, not the price of a letter. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.